Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Manoj Atri, real estate agent with Remax Hallmark. And if someone can give me a heads up if you can hear me and if my voice and video are both, I can hear myself. So if the audio and video is okay, we had to shell this webinar yesterday because of the audio issues, but I hope we are able to perform well today. Fingers crossed. So if anyone can give me a 1 or a yes on the chat, that'll be great, and then I can take it to the next level. I think it has picked up everywhere. So let me just check up if I am rolling on all the streams, and if yes, then we are good to go. At the moment, let's see if I am doing fine on yeah, I am there on Facebook. I am there on my Facebook page. I am doing okay with LinkedIn, I suppose so. Let's see. There is some issues with LinkedIn at the moment, but let's see if it picks it up down the line. And let's see regarding Twitter. There we go. Okay. So 4 out of 5, and YouTube is also picking it up. So we are all in business. Again, thank you for joining, and let me give a head start here. My name is again Manoj Atri. I'm a real estate agent with Remax Hallmark. We did this webinar yesterday, but only like after 12 minutes, the sound was not hearable, and so we had to abandon it. And I've had a chat with a few people, and they would prefer that I start all over again. So let's keep on rolling right from start and then take it from there. So my first is my real estate monologue. We are going to pick up an article today, and the article is with Yahoo Finance, what to know about lease with option to buy or rent to own homes. They're both the same terminology, and the lease to, sometimes we call it lease option to purchase, rent to own homes, or lease with option to buy. They all formulate the same thing. So it is just using a very different terminologies, but they all form part of the same thing. Before we begin the article, I just want to give you a brief about the main difference between rent to own and buying. So, and I'll just be on the surface. I'm not going to go into the detail. I'll just pick up the main 3 components and what exactly is the final differences between the two. So once you have a basic idea what exactly I'm talking about, then you will be able to understand the article very well. And in case if the time permits, then I will also walk you through why rent to own is a very costly program, and it is also, we are trying to address the worst case scenario. So with that, let's roll into this. First one is the difference between buying and rent to own. Okay. Okay, let's start with the first format here. Whether you're doing buying or doing rent to own, there are 3 components. 2 of them are similar, and the third one is the difference. Okay, so let's begin with the first one. The first one is income. So whether you're doing buying or doing rent to own, this income component does not change. It is generally 4 times your annual gross income. So if your income is $100,000, you will qualify 4 times the annual gross income. So any property up to $400,000. If your income is $125,000, you'll qualify for $500,000. And this is for a freehold property. If it's a condo or a condo townhouse, you may get qualified around the 3.5% mark, 3.5 times the annual gross income. Till last year, when the interest rates were lower, you used to qualify for 4 times for a condo or condo townhouse and around 4.5 times for a freehold property. But because of the interest rates that they have gone up, so we are still struggling with these particular numbers. If down the line the interest rates go further down, then yes, you may qualify from 4 to all the way up to 4.5 times the annual gross income. So that is the format for income. So whether it's buying or rent to own, in both the formats, the income component does not change. Let's go through the next component, which is the down payment. If you are a first-time buyer, you can get away with 5% down payment plus closing costs. So whether you're buying or doing rent to own. Some companies can, in a rent to own program, can even work with 3% plus you do the additional down payment savings over the period of time. So that may be the only slightly difference, but I haven't seen any program where a rent to own program you can go ahead with 0 down. So the down payment component is there. The only difference is, and in case if somehow if your mortgage, if your credit score is very good, banks also have a cashback program, and you can always get more details about that particular one. But when I'm just sharing the difference between rent to own and buying. So in this particular format, down payment is required. It can vary. The minimum is 3% and can go all the way up to 5% plus closing cost. The third component, which is the main difference between buying and rent to own, is the credit scores. So those people who have bruised credit, they do rent to own till the time they can improve their credit and procure a mortgage. So that is the main difference between buying and rent to own. And that has to be completely understood. So if your income is good, income is both, in both the formats is the same. If your down payment is slightly less, yes, you may think about it. But again, remember, rent to own is a very, very costly program, and it is trying to address the worst case scenario. Let's say suppose someone had extremely good income, extremely good down payment, but they have a past bankruptcy consumer proposal. They may consider this particular thing because it will take them a few years to get discharged and then a few more years before they can procure a mortgage. And they may not be liking the idea of renting. So that is when they may look into this particular one. And so I hope you get the gist of it. So that is the main criteria about rent to own. Now, having said that, let's pick up the, give me 1 second and let me check if everything is going on okay. And then we will go back to the article there. Let me see if there are any comments or anything at this particular stage. If everything is okay, then we'll keep on rolling. Wonderful. So let's head back to the article of the day and let's see what we can work with it. The article is with Yahoo Finance, what to know about lease with option to buy or rent to own homes. This is with Lara Vukilic, and it was done on February 10th of 2023. So it's a fairly recent article. I think so she's walking us through the US format of rent to own, but I haven't seen much of a difference between the two programs. Mostly they are similar, and there will be slight variations, and I'll be able to guide you with the US format and the Canadian format. Okay, so let's look into it And then let me just get my notes on this one so that I can guide you with exactly what all notes I have. As I explained it to you, it is also called lease option or lease option to purchase. Now, in this article, I'm not sure whether she is covering a US government rent to own program. I'm not aware that they have a program, and I'm also not I'm not sure about that particular part. Just to give you Okay, I think so. Yeah, the voice for a change has come in over. Let's see if I can handle this. Okay, I I had to go between one mic and the other mic. I hope you guys are still there, and I was able to change. And let's see if let's see up to what time it goes, keeps on going, and we'll keep on working. Okay, finally something. So there is some glitch somewhere, and I'll try to work between two mics and keep an eye on the sound, and we take it from there. Okay, let's keep on rolling in if you guys are still there. With mortgage rates topping 6% and home prices that are still riding their pandemic spike, home ownership may seem out of reach for many people these days. As I was explaining it to you, the interest rate these days are between 4.5% to 5%. The posted rates may be close to 6%, but that is what the interest rates are these days. Now, if you are finding that to be too high, always remember the rent to own program is even costlier than that. Okay, so the that is what has to be understood, that rent to own is not a cheaper program. So if you're already finding or struggling to get into the market, this particular program is even more costlier. Yes, you do not have to get into the jugglery of the interest rates right now, but the landlord or the investor will do his calculations accordingly because he is buying for you in this particular market. So remember that. So those numbers will come into the fray. But also remember that the property values at this moment is less than it was almost 1 year ago. So you have some balance to work around with. Let me get my notes so that I can then. This can be a posted rate. That's what I said. 6% could be a posted rate. You can generally get between 4.5% to 5% as a fixed rate. Home ownership may seem out of reach. Just to update you that the program is a costlier program. Now, let's get into renting a home with the intention to eventually buy it is one thing to consider. So remember that. I am just making sure that the sound is okay. Now, as I had mentioned to you earlier, and I had walked you through, if your income is good, if your down payment is there, or you have 3% and you're struggling for another 1 or 2%, you always have, like, you can take gifts from family and friends, family rather, and work towards your buying rather than going for the rent to own program. So remember that this should be the last resort. The rent to own format should be the last resort. Let's go into the next. This type of contract can help people who want to buy but aren't quite financially ready yet, providing extra time to save for down payment funds and shore up credit scores until they can make buying a reality. Remember that. This is not only on quite financially ready. Your income has to be there. And remember, let's say suppose, I'll give you an example so that you can comprehend this completely. You buy a property today for $500,000 as in a rent to own program. There is going to be an appreciation fee per year. So let's say, suppose if you are now buying that particular property in 4 or 5 years time, you're completing your rent-to-own program, you should be qualified for all the way up to the 600 or 650 mark at that period of time. Otherwise, when you are about to close the property, you may not get the financing. So remember those particular things. So make sure all those criteria are addressed. The income criteria is addressed. The down payment criteria on the basis of the option price, which is the final price, not on the numbers that you have it right now. Because if you're not able to save for those particular period of time, you will be running through a challenge there again. Let me just double check on the sound. Yes, it is. It is. It's still. We are still in business. Awesome. Okay. So now let's do something else. Let's go through my notes on this particular one. Yes, this is true, but the one factor missing is income. So remember that. You have to work on all those three components, and income also has to be checked into. You may have to qualify for the option price value. That's what I was walking you through. Things to further consider is, okay, now this particular part has also to have a consideration. The market value at the final purchase price sometime may be less than the option price. Let me walk you through with an example here. This is like almost a few months or probably close to a year that this particular information was there on the news. Few people had bought some properties in the Brampton area. They were almost close to $2 million mark. And with the rise of the interest rates and things like that, their values had gone down by around 1.6 or 1.7. So now those people had to come up with the down payment plus the difference. So even like, let's say suppose now you buy a property for 500 and in 5 years you have to pick up that property for 650. If the market drops and you can only get a mortgage for 600 because the appraisal came at 600 only, you will have to come up with the difference. So these are some of the challenges that you are working with. In that particular case, make sure you have like in your agreement, what happens if this happens. So you will have to make sure you address those particular clauses accordingly. Like, can I get a further extension on my rent-to-own program till the time either I have sufficient more down payment or the prices stabilize to what has been agreed upon. And also at that period, what is your appreciation per year has to be counted. Like, does it go into the same format or no? So all those particular things come into the play as and when you go along with this particular program. So it is not a simple format. It has its ups and downs, and it has its own challenges. Make sure you understand those and act accordingly. Let's see if the mic is working. Yes, the mic is there. Mic is fine. And let's see if I have any queries or concerns. No, we are rolling fine with the video and the audio. I think so. If there is anything, please feel free to post me. And if you have any query or concerns, keep me in the loop and I'll try to walk you through. Okay, let's go through the next paragraph. What is the lease option to buy? As I told you, lease option to buy, lease option to purchase, or rent to own homes, they are the same terminology, different names, but they mean the same thing. Let's read this out here. A lease option is a contract in which a landlord and a tenant agree that, I will call him landlord, seller, or landlord, or investor, seller, oblique landlord, oblique investor, and buyer, oblique tenant, agree that at the end of a specified period, the renter can buy the property at a specified price. Yes. Everything is decided before you get into the property. The option price, what are the per year appreciation, how long is the term, and what you are getting into, all those things are decided upfront. It is not that you have picked it up and then down the line you are trying to get this addressed, because things can be completely different 2 or 3 years or 4 years or 5 years down the line. So make sure that those things are addressed. Let's see what my notes are on this particular one. It is absolutely correct that the format is correct, that you purchase a particular property now and then purchase it at the option price at the time of closing at a specified price. Depending on per year appreciation, all these numbers are done even before you are starting the contract. The term is also decided prior to exercising the contract. That's what I said to you. So the rent to own term will be like, okay, my credit score is, let's say, 400 or 500, and it will take me 1 year or 2 years. So you do it accordingly, and that get into the credit repair format and things like that. Make sure you adhere to that particular format. Otherwise, you won't be able to get a mortgage, and you'll be back to square one. You will be losing your deposit, and you will be also losing the additional per month down payment deposit that you're doing towards the purchase of your property. So make sure those things are addressed. The tenant pays an upfront option fees, yes, and an additional amount each month that goes towards the eventual down payment. Absolutely. Not only these, there are other also charges and details you'll have to come up with. Okay, so initially you will come up with some down payment, varies from a company to company, can be anywhere from 3% to 5%, and then you save additional. Now let's say suppose you have a 5-year term and you can only get a mortgage close to 7 or 10% down, because 5% you will need for the down payment, plus you will need an additional 1 or 1.5 to 2% for the closing costs. So in total you'll be between 6.5 to 7% of the purchase price that you will need. So you will need to save accordingly, and also on the final price, not on the price that you started with, but your income has to be there so that you can qualify for a mortgage, and your down payment has to be there, and your credit score has to be there in order to procure a mortgage. So everything comes into the play, and you should be aware of that particular one. So yes, now an additional amount each month. Yes, you will do those calculations. If I save this much per month, then only I'll be able to reach my down payment. Otherwise, I may not be able to reach there. So everything comes into the picture. Let's see what my notes are on this particular one here. Tenant is also sometimes hereby referred to as buyer tenant. Yes. Remember, this option fee can be forfeited if the final sale doesn't go through. Yes. Remember that very clearly before you even start with it. Make sure all the documents are proper before the option fee, and completely clarify when you pay the option fees and its return and everything there. And if the contract does not start, yes, you have to pay the option fees. Now, at what stage do you pay the option fees? And now, from that time till the time the final contract is executed, let's apply this, change it over. Yeah, I have got it back. So I've got the sound back, but I'm struggling with the. Yes, so it has come back. I don't know why it is going off and on, but sound has become quite an issue. It has come back. Okay, let's see. So we'll have to keep a very good eye on the sound and see if. Okay, I think so. I will call it off now because this sound is making it very difficult, and there is some issue with probably maybe the software or something, because it keeps it and then it takes it off, and maybe with a different set of computers and others, I'll try to get back. So I will leave it for now at this moment, and we'll try to get it addressed as and when I am able to get this resolved and fixed up. Sorry about it again, guys, and I hope to get this addressed at a next format. So let's stop it for now, and thanks again. Again, my name is Manoj Atri, real estate agent with the REMAX Hallmark, and sorry about the sound issues and glitches, constantly glitches. We'll try to get this addressed as we go along. Or if you want me to, we can continue. If few of you are still wanting it, then I'll continue it. But it is okay. Let's see how far we can go, and because the main thing here is okay. Let's see how far we can go. Okay, let's get back to the next line. You may hear lease option contracts called by a variety of other names, but they all mean essentially the same thing: rent to own agreements, rent options, lease to buy options, rent to buy options, lease with option buy options, and with options to purchase. I walked you through this particular thing before anyway. So that's what exactly it is meaning. So let's see what exactly is. Each contract will differ, okay, but typically if you decide not to purchase the home at the end of the agreement, you will lose your option fees and potentially also any money you put towards a down payment. Remember that very, very clearly. So let me get my notes on this one. Yep, before I start doing anything. It says each contract will differ, but typically if you decide not to purchase a home, I have told you that you have to be very careful with this particular contract. And let me go through my notes on this particular one. Remember this very clearly. Give me one moment here. Before you indulge into this particular program, remember, It is the final price that you have to qualify on the basis of the income, not on the starting price. That's, say, you're trying to buy a property for $500,000 today, and in 3 years or 4 year times, there is an appreciation of 4 to 5% per year. And let's just suppose you're buying after 4 or 5 years for 600 or 650. You will have to qualify for the 600. So your income 600 divided by 4 has to be around $150,000. Most of the investors will not do speculation on income. So remember that. And if they are trying to help you, guide you, okay, no, don't worry, everything is going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. You will be on the right. You will lose your down payment. You will lose everything that you have saved. So make sure you get that addressed. You have to be on top of everything that you are. Understand the program, understand your role into it, understand all the down payment that goes into it, understand every other down payments that you're doing. That's what I'm trying to. You will lose your option fee and anything else if you do not complete the final sale. Remember that very clearly, even before you start the program. The sound is still there. We are in business. Let's keep on rolling. Okay. I'll have to do some trimming wherever the sound is missing. So we'll have to work on that particular one. This type of housing situation may sound unusual, but it's easier to find than you might think. Yes. See, I've told you, like, let's just suppose for argument's sake, you can't get a mortgage and you're also struggling to get a rental place because let's say suppose you have 2 or 3 dogs or your situation is different and no one is giving you a place to rent. You have ran out of all options. Yes, this can be considered. You have good income, you have the down payment, somehow things didn't go right, you have a past bankruptcy, past consumer or a consumer proposal, or the credit was messed up due to some rhyme or reason, and you can't also procure a rental property. You have run out of all your options. Yes, you can consider this. It is a costly program, but there is an alternative here. So remember this. It is now the best particular part is that investor can come into the picture and assist you to buy any property. So yes, any property on the MLS can be picked up and by an investor to facilitate your rent-to-own program. So yes, it may sound unusual, but it is easier to find than you might think. Yes, you can get it in any areas. Remember, it is a costly program. You have to pay the rental amount, plus you may have to pay utilities, plus you may have to pay the extra for down payment. So those things come into the picture. And then repairs and maintenance, you'll have to work out with the landlord or investor or seller how that format has to work and then act accordingly. So you have the option, but it's a costly option. Remember that. So now they're wanting some information on the US format of some of the companies that are doing it. And if you are interested in doing something there, you can look into it. Let me check the sound part. Yep, we are there with the sound. Okay, let's read the next part here. Questions to ask about lease with option to buy. Okay, interesting. The first thing is always have your own team. And then with the team, you should work. It should be your own team. You should have your own real estate agent who has an idea about what this program is and how the details and intricacies of this programs are. You should have your own real estate lawyer who has done something of that particular sort. You should have your own home inspector, and you should also have your own mortgage broker to look into your format, in what is your current situation, in how much time frame you can get a mortgage. So those, everything has to come into. So basically you have to have your own team before you indulge into it. Lease with option to buy contracts can be complicated. Absolutely. So make sure you have answered the following question before moving forward. Not only these, many others. Let's go through my notes on this one. Yes, it is very complicated. Make sure you have your lawyer involved from day one. Absolutely. Also have a real estate agent, home inspector, mortgage agent in your team, and learn how to review these contracts. You will have lease contract, you will have an option to purchase agreement contract. So both those agreements have to be understood, and more details have to be. What happens during the time of the lease? If anything goes wrong, if the market value goes down, what happens? Everything from every angle has to be put in together. And it is a very complicated program, and just make sure you are working with a team. Don't go on your own. It's not advisable because you may be missing on many things here. How the deal is structured. Make sure you understand all the terms of the deal, length of the agreement, and the amount of option fees. That's what I said. There will be an option because the property values are generally increasing. So there is an increased value every year, maybe between 3% to 5%, depending upon which area you are in, what the property values are going there, how the whole format is structured, and what your situation is. So make sure, and also that you qualify for the final price. Remember that. It could be any amount from a few $100s to a full 20% of the value of the home. Here, I don't agree with this particular part. The main thing here is, it is not a few $100s. 3% to 5% is not a few $100s. So you will have to have a good amount of down payment. Usually, most of them, I haven't seen a company in Canada that can do zero down. So it cannot be a few $100s. It is to be like, let's say, suppose even if you're looking at $500,000 property, because less than that, you hardly have any properties these days. So if you're looking for $500,000 property, even 3% is $15,000. Plus, you will have additional moving expenses and things like that. So make sure you have, it is not few $100s. And to a full 20% of the value of the home. Here, if you already have 20%, even with bad credit, and your income is there, you have 20% down, there are many B lenders or private companies which can give you a mortgage. So check into that. So that is why I do not completely comprehend with this particular line. And it may be different in US, but in Canada, if you have 20% down there, I have seen lots of private lenders will be, and it may turn out to be much more cheaper. Because let's say suppose the interest rates are already high these days. Your 5-year fixed may be between 4.5% to 5%, whereas a private lender may be between 7% and 8%. So you may be paying $300 or $400 or extra per month. Now, if you calculate that $300-400 in 1 year, you're paying between $3,600 and $4,800. So roughly, let's say even $5,000. So in 5 years, you have paid $25,000 extra. Now, if you had done a rent-to-own program, every year appreciation may be $25,000 on a $500,000 property at 5%. So work out the maths. The maths part is very important there. The numbers crunching are very important there. The sound is still there. Wonderful. Let's keep on rolling then. Okay. Typically, I have, okay, let's story continues. Typically, you will pay above market rent, absolutely, with a portion of that amount going towards your future down payment of the property. That's what I've already walked you through. Okay, I'm. I think so. There is some issue with the software or something, and after a few moments, probably there is some glitch between the microphone, the audio, and the software, and I have to switch it between the two. And let's see, we'll have to edit quite a lot. And I hope I don't miss out on lots of things. Yep. Okay, so let's go through the next one. It is smart to seek the advice of the real estate attorney who has experience with these agreements and can look over the contract before you sign it. An absolute must. You have to have your own team, and those people who have a good idea and a good knowledge where things are and where you're going and what all things can go wrong. So be very careful. Let me get my notes on this one. It is not only smart, it is a must requirement. Absolutely make sure that go through all the details. Also make sure the real estate agent and the lawyer has a good understanding of these types of contracts. Very, very important. Home inspector, the mortgage broker, the real estate lawyer, the real estate agent, you have to have your own team before you indulge into this particular one. Okay. I'll have to keep a very close eye on the sound. Otherwise, when you do a lease option, you're betting that you're going to qualify for a mortgage. And give me 1 second so that I am able to be able to see the sound on a regular format basis. Make sure you are committing yourself that yes, I am going to get my credit repair. Yes, there are very good credit repair specialists that I also know of, but you will have to stick with the program for them. Also, if you have some kind of outstanding balances, they may help you in getting those resolved. So work with, even before you start, talk to a credit repair specialist or a mortgage broker who can help you with guiding you with these particular things, because your money is on the line. Remember that. Talk to a mortgage lender before entering into a lease option to buy agreement so that you know about how much money you will need to cover a down payment and closing cost later on. Absolutely. And on the final price, not on the price that you are starting. And what happens? Remember this. If the market goes down, you will have to come up with the difference. How will you handle that situation? So there are lots of permutation combinations that you will have to be aware of. In addition to amassing a down payment, use your time renting to improve your credit score. Absolutely. So that's what I've told you. You may be even better renting than doing rent to own. You have to understand that. You get a mortgage, that's your priority. That's your plan A. Plan B has to be renting. You're better renting and saving for a down payment and repairing your credit and acting to getting into the property with a mortgage from day one. The third and last resort, or when you have ran out of all your options, that should be the rent to own homes. Okay. A higher score will allow you to qualify for the best possible rate and when it's time to buy the home. Remember that. Banks, let's say suppose your credit score was 4,500. Now you have been able to go all the way up to 600 and now you can get a mortgage. But as soon as your credit score will cross the 700 mark, you will start getting qualified for more, and also your rates, I think so, will also go better. Check with the mortgage broker. They will be able to guide you and give you more insight and details about this particular one. In other words, pay down your debt. Absolutely. Okay. The software and the mic, they are playing their own part. I managed to play around with two mics and try to get one, because yesterday when I was just holding on to one mic after the same mic, probably the software is not working, not adhering to it. Let's wrap this up. For next time, I'll have to get something else addressed and take it from there. Okay, anyway, uh, let's go to the next one. How is housing market in my area? Okay, you have to be very careful. Let's say suppose. Okay, I think so. I Let me see how much is left, and I may have to just give you some. I'll just go through some of the, because I'm struggling with the audio here. How so? That's what I've just walked you through. How's the housing market in your area? So make that sure. In most cases, either a purchase price is agreed to in advance, or it is spelled out that the eventual price will be contingent on a home appraisal at the time of sale. No, remember, it is not contingent on anything, because let's say suppose the market goes, that particular property which you bought from 500 has now gone for 7 or 800 in 5 years time. You will not be able to buy it. So no, it is not contingent on a home appraisal at the time of the sale. Yes, if it has gone down, it may be in your interest, but you cannot take that chance. So make sure those particular things are addressed on day one. And in case if you cannot get a mortgage, how do you handle that particular one? Is there an extension, or what all other things can come into play? Make sure those things are addressed. Home values can be fluctuate during your lease period, so it is important to know if the price can be adjusted before you buy. I don't think so they will adjust, but you will have to work on a format. If this happens, then what happens? If this happens, then what happens? You'll have to keep some margin, but those things and terms and everything has to be decided upfront, not at the time the final format is going to be addressed. In a market where home prices are on the rise, it can benefit to lock in the price in advance. But if the prices are falling, be careful. You may end up agreeing to pay more than the home is worth, and in that scenario, you will have to come up with the additional down payment. That is what I had walked you through. So make sure you understand that particular part. Okay, let's go through the next one. Who is responsible for what? The lease option contract should spell out whether the renter or the landlord is responsible for the maintenance and repairs of the home, as well as who is going to pay for utilities, homeowner association fees. You need to secure renter's insurance, and the owner is responsible for the landlord insurance. Let me go through my notes. Not only that, there are lots of other fees and details that are there. So everything has to be: who pays for the home inspection, home insurance, content insurance, property taxes, utilities, repairs, maintenance, condo fees, and whether you can sublease your property also during that period of time. If you're struggling, and if the house is big enough that you may be wanting to sublease the one, can you do that or no? So everything has to be in place, and not only so you have to go through quite a lot of details there, depending on the property type and what the format is. Do I need a home inspection? 100% yes. You should never be getting into a property without a home inspection. The reason is you're not an expert in the properties. The home inspector, you're spending $400 or $500. It may turn out there is absolutely nothing wrong with it, but that's a peace of mind. What happens if you're looking at a property and the furnace is not working, or it is at the end of its cycle, the roof is there, electrical electrical issues are there, plumbing issues are there, water seepage issues are there, window draft is there. Let the home inspector do his. It's a big purchase. You're trying. You may be like suddenly for out of $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. If something creeps in, and your landlord or you have decided that you will be taking care of the repairs, or you will be doing some renovations, and he's okay with that. And when you start renovating, you open a Pandora box there. So you have to be careful about who has what and what not. Okay, I think so. I will have to get into this particular one, and I will have to get. I'll have to address this one and when I complete the webinar, and take it to the next level there. Okay, give me a moment. Let's go through. Have I considered other options? These are important to understand. If your finances are unstable and you're not sure you'll really be able to purchase the home at the end of the lease period, you might be better stuffed with a standard rental. I have walked you through that. Make sure this is the last resort. Take your time on your credit and get financing in better shape so you can strike when the time is right. After all, it would be a waste to plunk down those extra money on a lease and above market rent without making any meaningful progress towards home ownership. Absolutely. This has to be the last resort. Okay, I think so. Give me a moment here. Let me just go through the last part of the article. Pros and cons. And yes, it can help you. See, if you are like not one, you cannot get a place to rent. There is an option here. Gives you time to clean up your credit before you apply for a loan. Yes, there is an option on the table. It is not that you're left stranded. You have no other choice. Lets you become familiar with the property before you committing to buy. No. It is not becoming familiar. In the end, if you have done a contract, you will have to buy it. It is not you are trying to get familiar with it. So that typically requires an option fees in addition to your rent payments. Yes, an initial deposit and then deposit down the line. Market shifts during your rental period may affect home values. Absolutely, you have to be very clear. Risk of losing money if you ultimately don't qualify for a mortgage or decide not to purchase. Yes, you will lose all your funds. Be very, very careful. Bottom line, a lease option to buy arrangement can be a useful solution for potential home buyers, especially if you love a particular home but could use some extra time to save up. Increase your credit score and secure a mortgage. If not without its risk though, if you think it makes sense, ask a real estate attorney to look into the paperwork and have your own team and go through all the final details of everything. So make sure you are able to understand that particular part clearly. And so this brings us to the end of this one. I really appreciate you hanging in there with me with the audio issues. Probably my software and the audio is not comprehending, it's not working properly. So we had to go back and forth with the two microphones, and we'll need to resolve that down the line for the next webinar. And feel free if you have any other queries regarding the same and more details on this particular one, and we can take it to the next level. Thank you for hanging in there. We are almost 1 hour 10 minutes now into the and next time we are going to pick up another great article, and I hope without the audio issues. So look forward to you all of you joining me again. Thank you again for your time, and talk to you later.